Hello everyone and welcome back to my F1 22 My Team Career Mode for the Brazilian Grand Prix today, the penultimate round of the championship and a sprint race round as well. So this will be a very interesting weekend for the championship fight between Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc. They are the main contenders at the top of the field. We get the Pirelli Hot Lap Challenge out of the way first, of course. So this time we've once again chosen the Drift Challenge, or the fishtail all over the place and hope I get some points challenge in my case. And thankfully, once again, the target proves to be relatively easy, and we actually managed to smash the score required. We only needed 6,000 points. We end up with almost 7,500. Yeah, that will give us the gold, the 100,000 credits, as well as the 1,000 acclaim. I don't know how I feel about getting paid $100,000 for that performance, but anyway, Valtteri Bottas finally confirms his retirement. His name disappeared from the driver market a while ago, and we finally get the notification to say that he is officially retiring from Formula One, so that'll be interesting. Alfa Romeo will be looking for a new driver next season, along with Aston Martin, with Vettel announcing his retirement too, so we'll see what happens there. New livery for this round, of course, as we always do. This one is actually raccoon inspired. I was watching a YouTube video the other day and I saw a raccoon and I thought it was cute, so there's the inspiration for the livery for this weekend. But anyway, yeah, we get going for qualifying. This is actually our second lap in qualifying on the second set of soft compound tires. Normally I just go ahead and just do one lap and that's it in qualifying, but recently I've been doing two, and I've been finding improvement on the second lap more often than not. But unfortunately, even with that improvement, it's only 21st on the grid, so you know, is it really worth burning up another set of tires? Probably not, which is why I haven't been doing it and just qualifying down in last. But regardless, that is how qualifying ends for us. Down in 21st position, our teammate in last, so yeah, tough day for us. Esteban Ocon also gets knocked out, along with the two Canadians of Lance Stroll and Nicholas Latifi, and the Chinese driver Zhou Guanyu knocked out as well. But strange to see Esteban Ocon knocked out in the Alpine. That car definitely has more performance than what he showed in this qualifying session, so he'll be looking to make up for that in the sprint race. I think the top 8 score points, so from down this low on the grid, points are unlikely for any of us knocked out in Q1, but we'll see what happens. We continue to protect upgrades for the next season. We've only got one left actually that we still need to adapt, so we'll do that soon. But for now, let's get into the sprint race.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Sainz, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Russell, Norris, Ricciardo, Fernando Alonso, and Kevin Magnussen, Bottas, Mick Schumacher, Pierre Gasly and Tsunoda, Albon, Vettel, Guan Yu Zhou and Lance Stroll, Latifi, Ocon, the Scientist and Oscar Piastri. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
well, the ants go marching 2 by 2 at the front of the field. The 2 Red Bulls, the 2 Ferraris, the 2 Mercedes, and then the 2 McLarens are locking out the first 8 positions on the grid. And then Esteban Ocon had to ruin it by getting knocked out in Q1. Couldn't join his teammate on the 5th row. But anyway, we get into the strategy for this race. And I'm trying to work out if the soft tyres will go to the end and if they're going to be faster in a very weird way here, because it won't actually let me remove that second soft tyre stint on the bottom strategy option there. But in the end, I don't think it's worth it. So we'll stick to the medium tyres as we go to the 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the sprint race here in Brazil. And it's a fairly poor start for us off the grid. Oscar Piastri's down the inside, and we're not really going to fight this one too hard. The fact is, if we just survive this race, we'll probably gain a few grid positions anyway, naturally by people dropping out of the race and by people who have grid penalties for the Grand Prix itself. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out, but for now we're just going to take it nice and cautious on the opening lap and make sure we don't get ourselves caught up in anything silly, because it's not really what we need to do at this point of the season. We really just need to be, finishing races and, maybe getting a few points here and there if we can, but there's not a lot to be gained in terms of a sprint race result for us. We're nowhere near the points, so the difference between finishing 18th and 19th or whatever it might be isn't that much. We get past our teammate though down the inside and move ourselves up into P21, so we have gained 1 position there. Piastri didn't make things too difficult for us, and as we are a little bit wayward towards the end of this first lap, we're still getting into a rhythm, of course. Up ahead though, Esteban Ocon comes into the pit lane, and so does Oscar Piastri, so they've both managed to get front wing damage on the opening lap. And speaking of the opening lap, we'll have a look at a replay of the start for the front of the field. Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez on the front row, and it is a nice start for Max Verstappen, not so for Sergio Perez. He's under pressure from the 2 Ferraris as Carlos Sainz makes the move down the inside into turn 1, and it looks like he might get through. Sergio Perez is going to have to fight this one, but Sainz is able to swing around the outside of turn 2, and he gets the move done. Sergio Perez drops into 3rd, as it looks like Charles Leclerc is under pressure from George Russell as well down towards turn 4. Sergio Perez right behind Sainz, not able to do anything, but it looks like it is going to be Max Verstappen with a clear lead as they head through the first and second sectors for the first time. Sergio Perez will be disappointed with that start. He needed to capitalize on a good start here if he wants to chase down Verstappen in the championship. Meanwhile, Valtteri Bottas pulls off the road with a mechanical failure. That's unfortunate for him, but not an ideal start for Sergio Perez, as there's a bit of a moment there for Alex Albon. He drops behind us. What happened here to the Williams driver? He went for a spin all on his own and just dropped a few places there. Nothing too catastrophic, but a bit frustrating for the tyre driver there, and he will have a bit of extra work to do for the rest of this one as we get past him there. So it's not long before Albon starts putting the pressure on us, though. That Williams car is actually not too bad in the recent past, and they've been making improvements while we are struggling to keep this on the racing line. Albon gets through, and that's the end of that. So that was a short-lived battle with him, but regardless, we'll continue to push on. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Carlos Sainz is really putting the pressure on Max Verstappen, who is starting to lose a bit of pace in this one. Carlos Sainz making the move around the outside, and he might get this done. He's got the nose ahead, but Verstappen fighting back through turn 3, and here comes Sergio Perez as well. Let's see if Perez can get involved. But now it's Verstappen defending the inside line from Carlos Sainz. Perez down the inside of the Ferrari driver, and it looks like Perez might get through because Russell is stalking this duo as well. Can Russell get involved? Perez has to deal with Sainz first, and Perez makes the move around the outside, and here comes Russell. He's wide, and Leclerc now down the inside of Russell. Charles Leclerc getting involved in this fight. Can Leclerc get through? He's on the outside line here, and Russell's going to fend him off, and George Russell maintains 4th position. But that was a tense little fight, but in the end, Perez was the only one to gain anything out of that. He passes Carlos Sainz for second position. Now he's got Max Verstappen right in front of him. The championship leader, the two top drivers in the championship, the two teammates at Red Bull, fighting it out here in Brazil. Perez has to make the move here. He goes to the outside, the same move Carlos Sainz just tried to pull. Let's see if Perez can do it better. He goes around the outside of Max Verstappen into the first corner. A bit of a wide moment though. They're going to be side by side through turns 2 and 3. And in the end, Perez cannot make the move. And in fact, he loses out to Carlos Sainz as well. So Perez drops back into third, and a lock up there. Russell having a look. Russell can't make the move, so Perez really struggling now. A bit shaken after he couldn't quite make that move. Potentially a bit of pick up on the tyres, and he needs to just get his composure back, as Carlos Sainz is really putting the pressure on Max Verstappen. There's clearly something not right in that car, because Verstappen was getting away from everyone over the first couple of laps, but ever since he's started to drop back and fall back towards the field behind, and he's holding up a bit of a train here that goes well all the way back. So it's clearly not good signs for Max Verstappen, because there are cars deep in the field that have decent enough pace to keep up. So we'll see what happens. Carlos Sainz now making the move to the outside of Max Verstappen. Can he make the move for the lead this time? He's trying to pull it off around the outside. This is what he tried to do before, and this time he's still going to keep the fight going through turn 2, 3, and onto the Reto Aposta. And here comes Sergio Perez as well, on board now, looking rearward from Carlos Sainz. Perez looking for the move, but in the end, they all sit back in their same positions. Verstappen ahead of Sainz, ahead of Perez, ahead of Russell, ahead of Leclerc. And that is how they stay. So it's proving difficult for anyone to make an overtake on Verstappen, despite the fact he's clearly lacking some pace. Sergio Perez will be willing Carlos Sainz on to get past, so that Perez can then have a go at him, because of course Carlos Sainz is not in the championship fight. He's a bit out of position in this battle, because he's just going for points and for pole position, whereas these points are critical for Perez and for Verstappen. So having Carlos Sainz in the middle of them will amplify whatever advantage Verstappen gets if he can hold on to this. With all of that said, Sainz is looking close this time, so maybe this is the chance. Can Sainz make the move as he heads towards turn 1 on the outside line of Max Verstappen? He will try to make this move, as he has done 2 laps previous, but he cannot get the move done once again. Carlos Sainz slots in behind Max Verstappen, and once again Sergio Perez will be looking to take advantage of that. George Russell and Charles Leclerc fighting away behind as well, and all this scrapping away is really condensing the field, as there's a lock up there, and Sainz is out wide. He's dumped a bunch of places there. Russell and Leclerc are through, as well as Sergio Perez, who's now chasing down Max Verstappen, so that's unfortunate for Carlos Sainz. All that hard work, and he throws it all away in one corner. That's unfortunate, but that has let Perez off the hook, and now he's immediately closed up to the back of Max Verstappen. So Perez has the pace at the moment. I think he's got the fastest car. He's driving the fastest at the moment, as Charles Leclerc and George Russell fight away behind. Leclerc is able to get that move done, as Russell has a bit of a wide moment there, and he drops away from the back of that fight, as now Sergio Perez is looking for the move on his teammate. Perez goes to the outside line. Can he get the move done? He's got the nose ahead as they race down towards the first corner. Once again, Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen, the 2 Red Bulls, now fighting it out through turns 1 and 2, and Sergio Perez gets the move done, but Max Verstappen isn't giving up. He's still got the nose in on the inside. Can he do anything to fight back, or will more cars get involved first as they continue racing down? Charles Leclerc making the move, and now it's Leclerc versus Perez, and Leclerc boxed Verstappen in, and it didn't allow the Red Bull driver to fight with his teammate, and Sergio Perez fends off Charles Leclerc as well. So it's Perez, Leclerc, Verstappen in the top 3 now. It's been a changeable race for all 3 of them. Verstappen dropping back, Sergio Perez clearly with the best pace, and Charles Leclerc making the most of everyone else's mistakes, and getting through up into second position. So he's had a great race so far, as Charles Leclerc, as Max Verstappen is really struggling even once those two cars have cleared him, he's still under pressure from George Russell and Carlos Sainz. So he's clearly not happy in that car, and now it's only a matter of time surely before George Russell makes the move as they head down towards the first corner. Russell to the outside, and he will probably get this done here as Max Verstappen seems to be losing more and more pace. And they're going to be side by side all the way through turn 3, and Russell gets the move done, and surely Carlos Sainz will follow him through. Look at the train of cars that are steadily building up behind. It's just been such a tough run for Max Verstappen, and I wouldn't be wanting to look in the mirrors in that car. Oh, look at it. He's just getting swamped now. He's just been passed by the Mercedes as well. He's got the McLarens up next. It has not been a fun time for Max Verstappen. Meanwhile, Lando Norris retires from the race with a mechanical failure a little later on in the day. It's unfortunate for Lando Norris. He pulls off to the side after holding up his teammate briefly there, so that wasn't particularly well managed from Lando Norris. We have a bit of a wide moment there, and that allows Esteban Ocon through. So yeah, we lose that position. He's been gaining and gaining rather quickly, so you know, we were never going to be able to hold him off. So yeah, as we continue to push on though, surprisingly, we're actually faster than the Alpine through the middle sector, and we're able to look around and potentially make a re-overtaking move on Esteban Ocon if we can find the right opportunity. We'll have a look to the inside, we go for the lunge, and we'll actually get it done and move ourselves back ahead of Esteban Ocon.
You made it look so easy.
And move ourselves up once again into P18, very quickly becoming a P19 again as Ocon gets back past us. We'll throw it down the inside of turn 1 though, and we'll get the move done, move ourselves back up into 18th. So this will be the fight for the rest of the race for us. We're actually on to the final lap of the race already, so there's not long left to go in this one, as further up the road, Sergio Perez is going to come across the line to take race victory here for the sprint race in Brazil. Well done, Sergio Perez. He fought hard for that one, and he deserves every single point he gets for taking victory here. And that will definitely swing the championship in his favour heading into the final 2 Grand Prix of the season. We will cross the line to take P18. Wasn't a bad race for us, all things considered. We did the most with what we had.
And in the Drivers' Championship, the points that Sergio Perez earned today see him take over the lead. So let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. And it's another title in the bag for Red Bull after a long and hard-fought season. They've built an astonishing car this year, and the glory they'll be taking back to Milton Keynes is fully deserved. With the sprint wrapped up, we now have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
Ignore the Teams Championship stuff, that is not based on accurate numbers. But what we do know is Sergio Perez now leads the championship by 2 points ahead of Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc 23 points adrift. Let's see what happens in the race.
Formula One returns to Interlagos once again with the stage set for what promises to be another classic Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel famously clinched his 3rd championship here in 2012, and just 4 years later, Max Verstappen treated us to one of the finest wet weather drives of all time. Interlagos, always a very special race here in Brazil. It's a 2.7-mile circuit with 9 lefts and 6 rights, for a total of 15 corners. The fastest lap today should have an average speed of around 135 miles per hour, if, of course, the weather stays dry until the end of the Grand Prix. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Sergio Perez will lead us away from pole position, and starting next to them is George Russell. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Gasly, Fernando Alonso, and Mick Schumacher. Verstappen, Leclerc, Vettel, and Carlos Sainz. Joe, Stroll, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Latifi, Albon, Tsunoda, the Scientist, and Kevin Magnussen, Ocon, Oscar Piastri, Bottas, and Lando Norris starts from the back of the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Alrighty then, so here we are on the grid for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Looking at the strategy for this one, going to go a bit of an unconventional way. We're going to go start on the hard tyres and finish on the mediums, because I think it will actually be the fastest, potentially the fastest option for us. It is on paper slightly faster, but also it doesn't show on the weather radar, but because the game crashed on the first attempt of recording this race, I know it's going to rain a fair way into this race. So if we can use the hard tyres until the rain comes, we could have an advantage. The lights are out and we are underway for the Brazilian Grand Prix, and it's a terrible start off the grid for us, and on these hard tyres I guess that is what we should expect. The only other driver trying something different in this race is Alex Albon. He is also starting on the hard compound tyres, but yeah, we've dumped all of our positions off the start and are into P19, so we've actually only lost one place, so it's not that bad for us off the start, but yeah, it was not the most ideal opening stage to the race, because we are under pressure now from Valtteri Bottas, who of course retired from the sprint race. Bottas gets through down the inside, and so does Esteban Ocon, who of course we had that battle with, but we're in no shape to be doing that now. We're on hard tyres and they are not up to temperature, so this first lap was always going to be difficult, and to be honest I kind of expected to be struggling with cold tyres on lap 1, but yeah, you can see we just don't really have anything to fight with at the moment. But the key to our race is basically not to fight. We just need to get to the first pit stop, which will be onto intermediate tyres when it starts raining, as quickly as possible basically. So we don't need to be fighting with other drivers around us, we just need to be oh goodness me, Piastri's into the pits as well as Lando Norris, so a few early stoppers in this one to change damaged front wings. That's a little unfortunate, as oh, Esteban Ocon plows himself out of the race. He crashes into the back of Nicholas Latifi, who was retiring with a mechanical failure, and that is a spectacular exit for those two drivers, and they both will record a DNF here, as the safety car is now out here, and there's the onboard with Esteban Ocon just misjudging that one a little bit, and plows himself out of the race. But safety car is now out on circuit.
Now. We've got P17, Albon's ahead of you. Okay, the gap is less than a second. Okay, they're on fresh hards. Verstappen behind you now. Our gap behind is 6.7 seconds. They're on fresh softs. Your pit window doesn't open for more than 20 laps.
I don't think there is any benefit to us making a pit stop under this safety car, because we would need to go onto the mediums to make it worthwhile, and I want to save those for the end of the race. We only have one set, so we'll stay on track and keep our track position, I think, on this
safety
one.
Car in this lap. Safety car in this lap.
So we get racing for the Brazilian Grand Prix once again, and we immediately rolled off the road at the first corner, and we will rejoin, and we unfortunately lose all of our track position that we just gained there. So that's a little unfortunate, but regardless, that means we don't have to worry about anyone behind. Unfortunately, I don't have too many replays from this race, because I'm worried about the game crashing, so I will just show it here. Max Verstappen and Lando Norris both made 2 pit stops so far for front wing changes, so 2 unscheduled stops each for Lando Norris and Max Verstappen. So the race has not gone their way so far, and for Max Verstappen, that is championship changing stuff. He's held the championship lead until the end of the sprint race, where Sergio Perez took it for the first time this season, and now things are all falling apart in Brazil for Max Verstappen. That's most unfortunate for him. But as we continue on, we start gaining positions as everyone else begins to make their regular pit stops on the soft compound tyres, and because that safety car bunched up the whole field, the time they gained from running the soft tyres all goes down the drain, which has the potential to put us much further up the field than what we might expect. Daniel Ricciardo makes the move on us though, and once again we're not going to fight these positions too much while we're like this deep into the top 10, running P6 now. Ultimately we're not going to finish P6 in this race, that's not going to happen, so there's no point us fighting with the drivers around us now, because they're just too much, they're too much faster. I don't know if that's good English, but anyway, we get a double overtaken by the Ferraris, one on each side in formation there, and in the process I think Carlos Sainz actually lost out to his teammate. He was ahead, but he chose the outside line. Leclerc made the big lunge down the inside, and Charles Leclerc got a 2-for-1 deal, and Carlos Sainz ends up right where he was, gaining one and losing one at the same time. Meanwhile, Fernando Alonso now down the inside into turn 4, and he gets the move done. And once again, we're not going to fight that too hard. We're down into 9th position, and now is where we may start to fight these positions a little harder, as we're dropping towards the back of the top 10, back towards the cars we would regularly be fighting against in a typical race. So now is the time to get the elbows out and try to keep Pierre Gasly behind as he looks to the outside towards turn 4, and we'll cover him off and maintain the position for a little bit longer. But this is going to be one of those very defensive races, I think, where we're going to just need to be on the defensive every single lap and looking for every re-overtaking opportunity that we can. As Gasly gets through, we'll throw it in around the outside, and up on the high line there we actually get it turned very nicely, and we managed to re-overtake Gasly, who was struggling on the inside line. So that was a bit of a weird one there, but in the process of all that, the reason I think we were able to do that is because Mick Schumacher got the nose in on Pierre Gasly. They were running side by side and had to watch out for each other while we were just doing our own thing on the outside line, and that held them up to the point where we were able to re-overtake Pierre Gasly. So with all that said though, unfortunately we lose the position to Gasly ultimately on lap number 22. So yeah, that wasn't great, but we'll see if we can fight back. We're still within range, and our car seems fast in the middle sector, so potentially we even have an opportunity there, but at the moment it is not going too well for us. On board now with Lewis Hamilton, who is the car behind us, and Sebastian Vettel in between. Made a bit of contact and a bit of a wide moment there, so Vettel getting a little bit getting a little bit sketchy there, but anyway, we continue to push on. Pierre Gasly's now fighting away with Oscar Piastri, and he gets through. We will also get through on our teammate. Piastri doesn't make things too difficult for us, and we're able to pass him with relative ease. We continue on. Lewis Hamilton is the next one to line up a pass, and he makes a move down the inside into a corner he probably doesn't want to be making overtakes, but we let him through there. And yeah, that was no big deal at the end of the day, and we still remain in 9th position. Seems to be a running theme in this race. I think P9 is probably the target. If everything goes perfectly, we could probably finish in P9. That said, Max Verstappen just got past us, and I think we may lose that position for good, so we'll call it P10, and if we can finish in P10, beat the Aston Martins behind us, that will be a good result here, I think. So we'll have to defend these positions as we hold the inside line and fend off Sebastian Vettel, and we will maintain P9 for a little bit longer because we've gained that position back once again as more pit stops are being made. And that's the thing, whenever we lose a position we just gain it straight back when someone makes a pit stop from somewhere in front of us, so it's a weird sort of back and forth race. It's very difficult to know where we truly stand at any particular moment. So we're actually up into P7, P6 now, so we're really, we could be anywhere, honestly, and it all depends on when the rain decides to hit, because you can see it is getting visibly cloudier now, but at the same time we are getting slower and slower relatively. Our hard tyres are getting older and older. We are, of course, burning off fuel, but you know, that's not unique to us. Everyone's burning off fuel, so yeah, our relative pace is getting worse and worse to everyone else as Charles Leclerc gets past us once again.
I think we're far away from rain now. I'll keep you updated as conditions change.
And now the rain is fast approaching, but we're well inside the top 10 now, so if we can just maintain this position, we drop into P7. If we can maintain this until the rain comes, we could find ourselves because in a very good position, because everyone's going to pit for inters at the same time. That'll be basically a strategy reset at that point, as Max Verstappen goes sending it into the first corner. What on earth was that? He was nowhere near making the corner. He almost drove off the road. So that was a weird mistake there from Max Verstappen. Just went straight ahead into turn 1. He eventually gets a move done into turn 4. So we get a new strategy. Is this? No, it's not for the intermediate tyres. It's just a different medium tyre strategy. We're not going to worry about that too much though, because the rain is of course coming down. We'll go on for another lap though, as we're now under fire from Alex Albon. It was the other one on our strategy, starting on the hards. He pit much earlier though to go on to a set of the medium compound, but he cannot quite make the move around the outside. He was very close to doing so though, and Lewis Hamilton now getting involved in this fight as well, so it's not going to be easy to hold our position. And now DRS is disabled as Lewis Hamilton goes for the move around the outside, and we send it in and get back past Lewis Hamilton, and we're very late on the brakes to be able to do that. And yeah, it was a tough little battle with Lewis Hamilton, as we were just about able to hold him off, and yeah, that was getting a little bit awkward. But anyway, we are continuing to fight away as we continue to lose places. That is Charles Leclerc getting through, and now it is time for us to come in to the pit lane. Piastri's in pit lane as well, so we may have to double stack, but he's been in pit lane for a while, so I think he should be well clear by the time we actually get to the box to make our pit stop, so it should be all good. But if we can get a good pit stop here, I think we should still remain in the top 10. Yuki Tsunoda goes on for another lap, so that's an unfortunate strategical choice for him and AlphaTauri on the pit wall there, not making the best decision, I don't think, for Yuki Tsunoda, but usually it's the double stack is worth it over going another lap on the wrong tyre compound. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, we continue on, and it appears Charles Leclerc is not being any more fortunate, because he's on the wrong tyres. So he pulls off into the pit lane once again to fit the intermediate tyres. That'll give us free position, and with Tsunoda and Max Verstappen as well also making pit stops onto intermediates on this lap, we're up into 8th position. So once again we find ourselves running fairly well into the top 10, and this race is looking pretty good for us. Unfortunately, we don't have great pace in the rain, and we're under a lot of pressure now from Max Verstappen. We're doing our best to hold on. You know, now that everyone is on the same strategy on the intermediate tyres, this is a position worth fighting for, even with Max Verstappen. So yeah, we're going to try and hold him off, but I don't know how much longer that will last, as Verstappen now goes for the lunge down the inside, and a bit of contact on the way through. Verstappen takes the position up into 9th, and yeah, I think that was more or less inevitable. We just don't have the pace in the rain, especially. I just don't have the same confidence as now Valtteri Bottas goes for the move down the inside. We're able to hold him off just about there, but yeah, we're really struggling mostly on corner exits. We just don't have the same pace, and just getting that power down is very, very tricky in these conditions, and we're struggling with that. As Valtteri Bottas once again goes for the move around the outside into turn 4. We hold him off there, and we'll maintain the position for a little bit longer, as Bottas was out wide there on the exit. Bit of a moment for Valtteri Bottas, and we'll see exactly how that happened, because it looked like he was just in behind us. He was on the racing line there, but then just drifted wide and come back on very aggressively and damaged there. A bit of carbon fibre flying off one of the cars. I think that was the end plate off the Aston Martin car of Sebastian Vettel, who had no time to react to that, so that's unfortunate for Sebastian Vettel. He actually took that position and then held up Bottas for the rest of that lap before coming into the pit lane, but Bottas has eventually caught up to us once again and gets through towards the first corner. And yeah, we didn't really have an opportunity to go for a big lunge there. Bottas was parked awkwardly in the middle of the road, and yeah, just didn't have the confidence to go for a re-overtaking move. So we're down into 10th position once again, but thankfully the track is now starting to dry, and we can fit the medium tyres now, and we'll run those to the end of the race. So keeping the strategy simple here for us, and making as fewer pit stops as we can, especially because we keep having these pit stop issues. Goodness me. Why did we have to have another pit stop issue at a critical moment in this race? We're down into 12th position now. I don't know where we realistically stand. I don't know if anyone's still running intermediate tyres as we get wayward on the pit exit, as we have to give way to the blue flags. So that was Pierre Gasly that just got past us, so that's not ideal. We eventually let the right car through. This is George Russell going for the move around the outside, and
DRS has been enabled. DRS is now enabled.
DRS now back online as Russell gets through. We've made that a little more difficult for him than we probably should have, but anyway, thanks to the blue flags, we're actually able to get not one but two positions as we get past both Max Verstappen and Pierre Gasly, as Russell put them a lap down. So Max Verstappen now a lap down in this race, and George Russell potentially a good chance to win this one, as we continue the scrap with Pierre Gasly, and once again we make the re-overtaking move down the inside of turn 1 and retake 11th position. But it seems like that's where the race has normalized for us. 4.6 seconds up the road is Yuki Tsunoda, who's really made the most of the wet conditions and had a really great run in this race. So potentially Yuki Tsunoda could be scoring points in this one, as we have a bit of a wide moment there. But I think we can catch Tsunoda if we can just shake off of these two behind us. They're being very annoying, but we do, I think, have better pace than Yuki Tsunoda. But at the moment, we need to deal with Max Verstappen and Pierre Gasly. Verstappen's been down on pace all weekend, but he does make the move on us there, as we're getting blue flagged once again, as we continue to race on. And yeah, these blue flags just going to ruin things for us, I think. Carlos Sainz makes the move. He's in second position at the moment, trying to chase down George Russell, and yeah, he will probably have better pace. He's been quick all weekend, Carlos Sainz, as we're continuing to try and hold off Max Verstappen, who we actually got back ahead of him with the blue flags, helping us again there. So yeah, it's been a funny little end to the race, this one. This fight with Max Verstappen is continuing on, because he tries to make the move around the outside, and most of the time we can just about hold him off. It's not particularly easy, but we can do it on most occasions, as up the road Sergio Perez is fighting away with Alex Albon for 5th position. That's just the kind of race it's been. Perez would expect to be much further up. Albon would expect to be much further back, but here they are fighting for position, and that is just how this race has played out. But Perez, despite not running that high in this race, down in P5, isn't where he would want to be, but he is the leader of the championship contenders, because Max Verstappen is behind us, and I think Charles Leclerc might be even further back He's really not having a good time in this race, Charles Leclerc. So yeah, that will still be a good result for Sergio Perez, despite not pulling in the points he would want to at the moment. But we continue to hold off Max Verstappen time after time. Surely he's going to make the move and get through at some point, but as long as we can, we're just going to keep throwing it back down the inside and keep re-overtaking Verstappen. And it seems to be working for us. If there's one thing we can do, is brake late, and that's helping us hold off the Dutchman lap after lap here in Brazil. He must be getting so frustrated at this point, because there have been times he's been able to get past us, but through blue flags we've been getting the positions back.
Currently P11. Tsunoda's ahead of you. Our gap to the car in front is 2.6 seconds.
And despite all the scrapping away, we're actually catching Tsunoda. So points are not out of the question here at all, as we have a bit of a moment on the exit of turn 3. Max Verstappen down the inside, but again we give him a very tight line on the apex, and he can't make the move stick, and he stays behind us for a little bit longer. He's still on the outside as we head into the right-hander, but we'll hold him off and maintain the position, still in 11th place. But unfortunately for our fight with Tsunoda further up, those plans go down the drain as we begin to get the blue flags. Daniel Ricciardo is actually the race leader at the moment, and he's ahead of George Russell, who's now making a pit stop. So an unscheduled one. He must have made a bit of contact with Ricciardo or Sainz or someone as he was fighting away, and yeah, front wing damage and a pit stop for George Russell. But yeah, the blue flags ruined our fight with Tsunoda, and you can see we've dropped a long way back. And this fight with Verstappen, it wasn't costing us too much time to begin with, but I think the fighting just gradually got more and more aggressive between us, and yeah, we're now not even close to the fight with Tsunoda. In fact, it's Zhou Guanyu in 10th position now as we continue to scrap away with Max Verstappen. Able to re-overtake him in the middle sector, just showing the pace we have at that part of the circuit is actually really good. So, encouraging signs, but yeah, unfortunately, it's the straights where we're really struggling and really losing out. You can see the pace Verstappen has even well before the DRS zone. He's got so much more momentum. The DRS isn't actually helping him that much as we once again make the re-overtaking move down the inside into turn 1. And Verstappen's lost out to Leclerc there, and in fact there's a yellow flag. So as he had something bigger going on there, we'll have a look at a replay of that incident. And Max Verstappen spins all on his own on the outside line. Max Verstappen does a 360 and tumbles down the order. And actually, ultimately, I think he only lost one position to Charles Leclerc, as is the field spread at the moment. But he does get going, but that is his fight for 11th place officially over, as we're continuing to scrap away with Charles Leclerc. I can't believe we're fighting away with the championship contenders, and it's not even for points. What has happened in this race? Verstappen and Leclerc have had terrible days, honestly, and the only reason I'm fighting them so hard is I'm just hoping someone in the top 10 has a mechanical failure and we can sneak a point in. If this fight was for 12th or 13th, I wouldn't bother, but because it's for that P11 position, it means that if there's any troubles for the top 10, we're in prime position to steal a point. But unfortunately, as we begin what will be our final lap of the race, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen, as Charles Leclerc makes the move down the inside once again. But a bit of understeer for Leclerc mid-corner. We'll make the move back around the outside though, as he really had to get on the brakes mid-corner there to avoid understeering right into us, and we're able to maintain that position once again. So P11 I think is where we're going to finish this one, unless Leclerc gets a run towards the finish line, which actually is highly likely, because he has the help of the slipstream, the DRS, and just plain better straight line speed. So we'll need to watch out for that as we head towards the finish line out of the final corner. But further up the road, it's his teammate Carlos Sainz who's going to come across the line to take race victory here in Brazil. Fantastic drive from Carlos Sainz, the smooth operator, does the job here in Brazil. And along the run to the line, Charles Leclerc makes the move around the outside, and he's going to grab that P11 position, but ultimately...
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way way in.
That's not going to have any major effect on either of our seasons. Disappointing day for Charles Leclerc. Not too bad for us though. P12. I'll take that.
Another superb Sao Paulo Grand Prix comes to an end then, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
Well, when you overtake that many people, I'd certainly hope you'd win the race. Their car was really effective in the slipstream here today, and the team will be pleased that they didn't cook the engine, given how long they were spending in the hot air behind other cars. They had a lot of confidence to push their tyres hard as well, especially going into the corners, which allowed for some late braking and some exciting passes.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari, do it again.
So Carlos Sainz wins for Ferrari here in Brazil. Daniel Ricciardo takes second position for McLaren. Great result for him and the team, with Fernando Alonso on the podium in third for Alpine.
Let's have a quick look at how the drivers' standings have changed. A result that will make Sergio Perez happy as he pushes his championship lead out even further. Some amazing talent out on the track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
Yuki Tsunoda gets my vote today.
And it's another title in the bag for Red Bull after a long and hard-fought season. They've built an astonishing car this year, and the glory they'll be taking back to Milton Keynes is fully deserved. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport action. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Alrighty, let's have a little run through the point scorers in this race then. Carlos Sainz, race victory and fastest lap, with obviously Daniel Ricciardo and Fernando Alonso rounding off the podium. Sergio Perez, a great result compared to his championship rivals, and he steams ahead in the championship fight. We'll get to that in a moment. George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. Alex Albon, huge result for Williams in P7, and first points for them this season, 6 of them, so fantastic result. Valtteri Bottas and Yuki Tsunoda finishing in P8 and 9. Good points for Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri respectively, with Zhou Guanyu also in the points for Alfa Romeo, and his first point of the season. So great stuff for Zhou Guanyu. As for the all-important Drivers' Championship, Sergio Perez with a good result today steams ahead, 14 points clear of Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc drops out of mathematical contention unfortunately, so it'll be a 2-horse race in Abu Dhabi. Also of note, Daniel Ricciardo re-overtakes Lando Norris for 7th in the standings. Ricciardo now sits on 100 points on the dot. We drop down to 10th in the standings, with Alonso moving up to 9th with his podium finish. And of course, as I mentioned, Albon and Zhou getting points on the board for the first time. As for the Constructors' Championship, Red Bull now have a 76-point lead over Ferrari heading into the final round, which means it is official. Red Bull are the team's champions. There's no way Ferrari can fight back. From here, there's only 44 points available to a team if they get a 1-2 as well as the fastest lap, so Red Bull have done it. They are the team's champions of this season. And with all of that said, that brings us to the end of the Brazilian Grand Prix weekend. We get a nice bit of acclaim for our efforts here. Level 16 team acclaim, so it'll be a while before we unlock the next and final sponsor slot, but we'll get to that probably early next season. And we actually beat Lando Norris in that race, so we tick off all of our sponsor objectives, which is nice. But anyway, $6 million now in the bank, so that is looking good.
Our margins are looking good right now. I think we've got room for some more investment.
And straight away, we have a personnel department event, so
could you take a look at this for us,
we will
please?
check that out. Okay, so what is all of this about? It seems we have identified a threat from hackers and we can invest in some extra training. And interestingly, there is no negative effect for declining, which it makes me think that there's a hidden effect. We may get another department event in the future that may make us regret declining this one if we go in that direction. And there's a small part of me that wants to test that theory, but I'm going to go with the safe option and invest in the extra training for the staff, and yeah, keep the team on the safe side, I think. But I was tempted to decline just to see what would happen, I will be honest.
The department wants me to pass on their thanks for helping out.
So immediately after that, all of our sponsor contracts end at once. So here are the new ones we've signed. We've got Atlantic on the car now. They want us to complete 75 laps as a team. Should be pretty easy to do. And that will be one we can basically guarantee every weekend. Same with Alkenes. All we need to do, we kept them on the car from the previous period. And yeah, they want us to not crash into anyone. And finally we have Lupo Industries. They want us to finish in the top 10. Not impossible. It will be one of the more difficult ones, but I think with an improved car next season, hopefully it is something we should be able to do on a more regular basis. As for the activity timeline, we are going to do the 2 single-day activities. The external driver training for Oscar Piastri, as well as the driver promotion filming. Bit of extra acclaim as well. So yeah, we will also adapt the final unprotected part for next season, and our car will at least be as good as it was at the end of this season for next year. So now we can start to focus on upgrades once again, and we'll do that over the break, of course. But anyway, that is it for this one. We have arrived at the final round of the championship, so we will end this one here. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I know this has been a long one. It happens with the sprint races, sprint race weekends. The videos were naturally going to be a bit longer, but anyway, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Feel free to give me some feedback in the comments. It is always very helpful. And other than that, I will see you next time. Goodbye.